What's going on, YouTube? Welcome back. Today I'm going to be working on my recent acquisition, which is the front and rear ground control sway bar kit for the M3. And what I'm going to be doing is actually customizing these sway bar end links for this specific front sway bar. Now I'm going to get more into details in a second part of the video why I particularly got this sway bar kit. So let's focus first on modification I'm going to be doing to the sway bar end links first. Now brand new, these sway bar end links are great because these are spherical bearings and they're very precise for a race type of vehicle. These are great, but the downside of these, they don't last very long. As you could see, I got this kit secondhand. These are kind of worn already, especially the top mounting point, the section where it mounts to the actual shock, because that experiences the most wear because the shock always turns as the wheel turn. There's a lot of play in this section right now. The bottom one is okay, it's still very tight because this does not move as much as the top portion. I'm gonna be improving on the design of these end links and have them last a bit longer. One of the key components that you will need for this modification is this specific stock sway bar end link made by Miley. This is the Miley HD model. This is for your standard e46 M3. As you could see, the mounting points on the stock one are a bit different. They use the same type of mounting as on top and the bottom, where this one uses the same type on top only. The bottom is a bit different because the sway bar has a clamp here and that mounts here instead of to the side like on the originally designed sway bar end link. Now why do you need the HD model? The regular one will not work. Let me explain why. Because these rods, these threaded rods that go in for the, so you could adjust the length of the whole end link, are about 3/8 or 10 millimeter thick, which on a standard one, as you see here, I've been running these type of end links for quite some time. These are my old ones which still work, but these will not work with this setup. That's why I need to create a new one. Now let me explain why the original or the stock one won't work. All right, we're in the garage as it is a million degrees outside. Got the AC running, so I apologize for the noise if it comes through on the camera, but here we are on the workbench, and then let me just demonstrate some measurements for you. Major benefit of this type of sealed type of joint is that it keeps the weather elements out and will last a lot longer than this type of spherical, not sealed joint. Honestly, I'm not sure if it's really worth it to bother with these spherical ones because the precision between this and that does not seem like it's a game changer. Let me show you some measurements. I'm gonna be doing this in metric, so keep things simple. See, the thickness of this rod is about 9.48 millimeters, and just for comparison, the thickness of this is about 9.8, so a little bit thicker, which is within spec. Now let me show you why this original or the stock non-HD sway link won't work. See, this one was only in 9 millimeters, so it's more than like half a millimeter thinner, which will not work with this threaded side of the end link from ground control. Now obviously you could just buy a brand new set of these from ground control, but I find that pointless. Reason being is because they will basically go bad within a very short time, and you will have to spend another, I think they charge like 140 bucks for a set of these, which is kind of overpriced if you ask me. You could get this one for 17 bucks and you only need one. So let me show you what exactly you need to do to make this fit here. First, you have to mark your Miley HD sway link to the appropriate length. Got the piece that I just have cut on the table here. So what we need to do now is make this part threaded right here so we could fit it on this end of the end link, so we could mount it up to the strut of the car. These end links are much shorter in nature than the standard one because the mounting piece is a little bit higher, so they don't need to be as long as the original end links. That's why this piece is not that long. Now to make this work with this existing end link body, you will need die, which is diameter is 3/8 by 24 thread pitch, and you will need something like this, which you could pretty much get at any hardware store. I have grinded this a little bit, so the diameter is a bit less than the original one, as I mentioned before, because it's a bit thicker, so I want to have an easier start with the die, and that will help. Once we get the die going, it'll be easier to engage. So let me put this on, clamp this down on the vise. The most important part of this is to have the even start. So we gotta kind of put even pressure and slowly start turning it until it catches, and we got it. Slowly, I want to put some oil on it as well, that way lubrication is the key in this type of die work. There we have it, just like that. We have the threaded piece. Now here's a moment of truth. Let's see if this fits. Beautiful. Threads in, no problem. It's not loose. Excellent. There we have the finished end link. It's a one stout piece if you ask me, in comparison to the original one, and it should last a lot longer than this one did. This is a nice and sealed. Look how big the joint is from these Miley HD. I wish I had a solution for the bottom piece as well, but unfortunately for now I could not find a sealed joint like this. So for now I'm going to stick with this setup the way it is. Like I mentioned, the bottom does not seem to endure the same type of stress as the top one does, because like I mentioned, the shock moves left and right constantly, so there's a lot more stress on the top side than on the bottom. And these, for now, they have no play, so we'll see. I know you could get these, just the bottom pieces, for like 10-15 bucks online. I'll try to post a link to them, and they have the bottom pieces have to be left hand threaded. This way, when you're turning it left or right, the whole thing either expands or contracts. I think this is a much better solution than the original design, especially when you could do this yourself for all in all is like 20 bucks. Like I mentioned, the end link was like 17, and even if you have to buy a die, it's like $5-6 bucks for this size. It beats the $140 if you have to spend on a brand new one just like that. Even if you have to buy the bottom piece alone, it's like 10 bucks. Well, anyhow, let's take this to the sway bar, and we'll see how it fits actually on the car. Here's a better view. I have these Hotchkiss placed right directly over the ground control sway bar. As you look here, the Hotchkiss has only 3 adjustment points, and the ground control basically has a clamp, so you could move this anywhere along the side here, which gives you infinite adjustment options. As you see here, I kind of made marks, the holes corresponding with the Hotchkiss bar, where would it end up on the ground control bar, just as a reference point when I have it installed on the car. The main reason for this ground control sway bar upgrade is to help me fine-tune the flat right suspension setup I'm currently running on the M3 with my Öhlins dampers. I'm gonna link a video down below explaining what flat right suspension is by a guy named Shake from Fat Cat Motorsports. He is much more qualified than I am explaining what flat right is. And he's one of the guys that actually came up with the spreadsheet for the E46 chassis cars and made it available to the public, and so anyone could basically enter their numbers and fine-tune their suspension setup. And it's truly amazing, because thanks to this spreadsheet, I was able to set up the car exactly how I wanted to. And this is the last piece of the flat right setup, the sway bars. Prior, I was running the Hotchkiss front sway bar along with the OE rear sway bar, which basically with those two sways, I kind of came to a limit where I could limit my adjustments. There was not much I could have done. Ground control sway bars front and rear, I have pretty much infinite adjustments. This way I could set up my front roll couple to exact number I desire. For example, the E46 M3 chassis, the preferred front roll couple should be around 75%. With the old setup, I was only able to dial it in to about 73%. My adjustment option basically ended because I was at the stiffest point on the front Hotchkiss bar at that point. With this ground control setup, I could basically go all the way to 79% if I desire. The higher the number, there will be a tendency to understeer more, and the lower the number, there will be a tendency to oversteer more. So the happy medium for the E46 chassis is about around 75%. That's what you want to dial your front roll couple in for this car. If you are interested in a flat right concept, I urge you to watch the linked video below, as Shake does a phenomenal job explaining the whole flat right concept. And play with the spreadsheet, input your numbers and see where your current suspension setup stacks up now, and then if you change the number, what it will be after, and you'll see the difference. I've been running this setup for past 3 years, and from what I was running before, the car is so much easier to drive at the limit, and it's much more predictable than it was before I had it tuned for flat right. It's really amazing. If you guys are interested in full specifications of my flat right converted suspension setup, don't forget to comment down below, and I'll make a dedicated video describing everything and detailing all the modifications I have done. I don't want to make this video too long, as that is a totally separate subject itself. With that being said, as always, thank you for watching, subscribing to the channel, and I'll catch you on the next one. Peace.